Welcome to the Great Life Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Monique Schaefer, and together we'll grapple with our messy, beautiful, and ever-changing personal and professional lives and the business world around us. I deeply believe there is no one right way to do this thing called life. Let's experiment together. As a quick reminder, friends, please note that this podcast is an independent production and the information presented here and views expressed here reflect my personal opinion and do not reflect the views or positions of any organization or company that I'm affiliated with. Enjoy the episode. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Great Life Experiment podcast. Today, this is the first episode where we are having conversations, roundtables, and I have my bestie, Sarah. She will always be Miller in my heart, Norman. So besides being one of my dearest friends, and we were just chatting about how we've known each other for 15 years, and that makes us wise and sage and not old that we've known each other that long. She is also the founder of 4610 Wealth Management, and we, through our friendship, have had very different stages in our careers. And so today, I think we're going to talk about probably a wide range of things, right? Best laid plans, but about friendship, kind of the various parallel paths, but staying friends in that, talking a little bit about finance, family, and she is the person I geek out with when it comes to F1. So maybe in the end we'll touch on that. So thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about 4610 Wealth Management.
It's funny because 4610 has only been around for a few years, but the practice has been around for almost 18 years, which is wild to even think about.
Yeah.
But I got started in the financial planning world in 2008, which is crazy to think about that time. And what was going on, and being hungry to get a business started, and had many early people like yourself and Ben who trusted me to do their financial planning and are still with me today. So that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really evolved since then, since the early days of it being anybody who can fog a mirror can be my client, to now being very intentional about how we take on new clients, what kind of experience we provide to clients,
Yeah.
how we educate them around financial planning, and then just really building more of an enterprise than kind of solo advisor
Yeah.
model. And so yeah, it's been a journey of growth and change, but it's been a really fun one to have.
Yeah. Now that you say when you started your practice and remembering back, right? I mean, 2008 is that was the great financial crisis at that point, right? That's what we called it.
But
How
it's
much
funny because we know that now,
yeah.
but we didn't know that then. I mean, we knew
Yeah.
it was hitting the fan. We knew that. But in hindsight, we know how bad it is. So
Yeah.
in the moment when I was in it, I didn't realize this is one of the worst financial downturns globally. That
Yeah.
I did not realize the magnitude of that moment when you're in it.
Yeah.
Right? As in all things, like, you, in hindsight, you look back and go, wow, historically, that was like one of the largest financial disruptions that this world has ever seen.
Yeah.
And then, but in the moment, you're just walking through it every single day and you're like, okay, there's headlines, and then there's this, and then there's people talking, and there's people freaking out, but ultimately they need somebody. And so a lot of times people will be like, oh my gosh, how did you do this in '08? Like, how did you start it? And I just have to remind people, even today, yes, there's volatility. Yes, there's things going on. But in the moment, you never know how big something is. You're just kind of waking up every day and going to work and doing what you're supposed to do. And so, yeah, the magnitude of that moment doesn't hit until years later, where you go, I guess I survived that, but it didn't really feel like that because I was just sort of
Mhm.
living, right?
Yeah.
And so the perspective certainly makes it feel a little bit, it makes it feel, to me, it makes it feel a little bit more bigger than what it felt like in that moment.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it's like anything. I mean, everything sounds tough until you're in it and just walking in it. And then you're like, I'm just taking this one day at a time. And then you can look back and go, oh my gosh, that was hard because of whatever was happening in my life at that point in time,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it is, whether it's a business or like having a baby or,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, it's almost like, why not start it in a recession? Why not start it in like turmoil?
Yeah.
Because you don't really, you know, it doesn't really register how big it is.
Yeah. It's interesting though. I think that time though kind of shapes, or at least for me, right? So I was coming out of graduate school, right? So I had just
Yeah.
finished international administration, human rights work, and right, I thought, let's go run Amnesty International. Let's go save the
Yeah,
world.
you're
Yeah,
gonna save the world.
yeah, and nobody pays you to to do that, right?
Shocking.
So doing consulting, doing grant writing, and I land at a really large nonprofit. And I think I signed, so I graduated in May. I signed with them in August, end of August. And
Okay.
then the great
Oh, yeah.
crash happens in
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
And I remember my CEO walking around and layoffs were happening, but I was the young person, right? I was hungry, I was scrappy, and I was the very last person talked to that day. And I got a promotion
Oh my gosh.
because there was like vacuum that had occurred. And
Yeah.
I was terrified because Sarah, like, mama had 100,000 in student loans to
Oh,
pay
I
off.
know, I remember.
I know, I've
Those are
had
paid
many.
off now, by the
It's
way.
all paid off, yep. Yep. But, yeah, lots of tears over that one. But I didn't accept right away because I was like, "Depends, what's the offer?" Like, how gutsy was I to say that? And then the
Did it
CEO,
feel gutsy in the moment?
she smiled. I said it in the moment, and she smiled. She's like, "That good, good." Like,
But did you when you said it, did you feel like it was gutsy, or did you feel like it was just a, like, natural thing?
it flew out of my mouth, and then I was like, "Oh." It felt big after I said it. And then the person that was gonna give me the offer, they wrote it on a sticky note and walked by my cubicle and put it on the desk. And I looked at it, Sarah, and I crossed out the number and I put another one. And I walked into his office and I put it on his desk and I walked out.
That part had to take that doesn't just, like, fly out, like,
Yeah.
that's some
Yeah.
intentional.
And, and I'm like, well, I might have just gotten myself fired out of that one. And later talking to that VP, he was like, and I didn't get the number that I asked for, but I got more than I originally asked for. And it stuck with me because he's like, even in this situation, like the fact that you will stand up for yourself and fight for yourself means that you will fight for this organization.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
applaud that.
Yeah.
But oh my God, it was like, I do.
They should have promoted you to CEO at that point in time.
Oh my gosh. But, I think back from when we first met. So you and I met at a luncheon
Yeah.
with a few other people. We had both just joined a council for kind of under 40 emerging leaders and advisory council. And we went to a networking event and it was like National Jewish or like
Yeah, I
Jewish
was gonna say,
women's.
first and foremost, neither of us were really intended to be there.
No, no, I think there were like open seats at someone's
Yeah,
table that
it
they
was like
sponsored. Yeah.
somebody paid for a table and they couldn't fill all the seats, and so then they asked, like, the young gals who could find, who needed to go to, like, meet people and network, and, yeah, and we found ourselves, neither of us are Jewish, by the way,
Yeah. No.
and we found ourselves sitting together at a table at, like, a Jewish women's luncheon.
Yeah. Yeah, which is great, and it was wonderful, but I just remember us, like, turning to each other and, even though I was in the nonprofit space at the
Yeah,
time, right, having this hunger of, like, I want to build something, so I was just doing kind of my first forays, solopreneurship and looking at
yeah.
different business models, and then you had just started your practice, and I think I had I think I had some orphaned
You
policies
did.
and, like, financial
You
vehicles,
did.
and it was like, "Oh, you could help me get this out." Right. Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
Yeah, and then I met with you and Ben in your little apartment, on, like,
Yeah,
Downing.
we weren't married yet.
No. I mean, financial planning when you're not married, that's a big deal. Who does
Yeah.
that? That's
Did we do I think we did separate ones, though. I think we had separate
I
like, we
don't
did
think
it
so.
together, but
I
separate
mean, you guys
policy.
were meeting together, so good for you
Yeah.
for, like, being the couple who's not even married yet and who's like, "We're gonna do some financial planning."
Well, it was we were, like many people starting out, like, we were so I'm not gonna say poor, we were broke.
Yeah,
I mean, we were literally broke and no 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 money whatsoever, but it was the, "All right, this is gonna be temporary, so what do we
yeah,
have to do to get here?" And I remember kind of the financial target that I had said, "If I could just make this amount of money, that would feel like freedom." And then it was, "If I could just make this, that would be the comfortable amount." And
yeah,
I remember the first year Ben and I doing our taxes and looking at each other, and it's like, that thing that I thought was that's how much I need to make is what I now pay in taxes alone. And it was,
right, yeah,
we've come
yeah,
a long way.
yeah. I know. Imagine that that'll be the amount that you pay in taxes in 1 quarter. Not that that's a
Well,
fun number to pay, but that's where you're headed, right?
yeah. Well, and maybe here in a little bit we can talk about the things that W2 earners do and probably shouldn't be doing.
Yes. High income W-2, those are the real winners of the tax game.
Yep.
I'm saying
Yep.
that sarcastically. They're
I
not.
know.
They're like the worst, the hardest hit of all the people, high income W-2.
Yes.
I'll just
I think
say.
every year we have that conversation.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So when I met you, it was you in
Yep.
just in your practice.
Yep.
And then we co-chaired an advisory council together, right?
Which I
The
think is a big deal, like, to note here because, both of us were, like, on a path in our career but just careers, yes, but also just life of where, we were comfortable being committee members, but also, like, we felt like we had a bigger role to offer
Yeah.
by leading it, and being, on the front lines essentially of that committee. And we had some pretty successful things as far as fundraising
We
and
did.
initiatives. And, but yeah, I mean, when you, again, like hindsight, you look back at something and kind of can see, again, in the moment, we were just, of course, we would co chair this. And now
Yeah.
looking back on it, what a foreshadowing of, no, we need to run this.
We need to run this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be better if we step up and commit to more of a leadership role in this
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah. And then it's okay, then how do we continue advising? And then, looking forward to like doing
Yeah,
board work and, being on corporate boards and,
yeah,
just getting those experiences along the way.
yeah,
I remember, and I was just so, I've always been so impressed. I don't know that I've told you this. I've just always been so impressed and inspired by how focused and driven you are. And you have done a lot of what I think are gutsy things, like of taking the risk of being a business owner. Like, so going back to that council, like I remember you sponsoring a luncheon.
yeah,
Like that was that's a big ticket item, and then it's hiring the first employee and then other advisors, and then it's not just you, but then also carrying the weight of a practice for the careers of other people as
yeah.
well. And I've just always been inspired by you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, it means a lot, especially when people who I admire, say that. And, you know, I guess at the same time, like all of these, I mean, because you've taken them too, right? Of like career leap, or, even if you think about it more, maybe your leap of faith when you left nonprofit world into the corporate
Oh
world. I
my
mean,
God.
that's a very big leap. But when people ask me, about, like, for example, I just had a friend ask me about a career in financial planning, and they were asking me just like if it was hard and all of these things, and again, I just had to be like, none of it, all of it felt hard and
Mhm.
scary, but you don't make 10 or 15 decisions at a time. You make
Yeah.
one and you say, I'm going to hire this employee, and then you figure it out. And then you sponsor that table and you figure it out. And then you call that scary client and you figure it
Yeah.
out. And so, I think sometimes we look at the whole of a career and we can
Mhm.
say, oh my gosh, how did you do this? But you're looking at the whole instead of the sum of these parts that make it
Yeah.
so much more doable. Not to undermine, like, what I did, because I know I worked really hard and I know I created something that I'm really proud of, but at the same time, for somebody else to do it is really just walking through the same steps, right? Of I'm
Mhm.
gonna do this, I'm gonna really stay focused on this, I'm gonna grow, now I'm here, I'm gonna hire the employee, I'm gonna, um, you know, so even when I went from a commission, type of, role to fee-based planning,
Yeah, that was a
right?
big that was a big shift
Yeah,
for you
and
because
that
you're
was
in a
fairly recent. That was in the last, like, few years that we went
yeah.
to that model, and we wondered if we were ever gonna get another client again because that, we're asking people to pay us thousands of dollars to do the same planning that we used to do for free, and that's, again, it's scary, but we got our first one, and you build some confidence, then you get another one, and now it just feels part of what we do, and so,
Mhm. Well,
yeah,
now you
isn't
have
it?
huge clients, and it's nothing
Yep.
because it's like you valuing your time. Yeah.
Right, right. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think both of us can say, like, there's been those leaps where they've been scary, but I mean, seriously, the leap from going from, especially with your background, right? Like, your
Mhm.
background being in, like, more of a service, not that you're not in service now, but,
Yep.
like, more of a service-oriented, like, Amnesty International, like,
Yeah.
like, those kinds of visions for yourself, and then, starting at a nonprofit and then taking a complete career shift and,
Yeah.
not just having a completely different focus. Right now you're looking at things like shareholders, and you're thinking
Mhm.
about, you're not just thinking about being a nonprofit, you're thinking about the bottom line of the company and all of those things, but also people are reporting to you, and
Yeah.
you're climbing a ladder, and that's a very big role, and stepping into a completely different thing that was potentially going to pay you
Yeah.
significantly more. I mean, even though that sounds like, oh yeah, no brainer, I'm going to go from this to this as far as income goes, but it's still like there's a pressure and a role there that's a big
Yeah.
leap from what when you're even taking on that kind of income of, like, what the expectation is gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah, the amount you're being paid and then the value you're expected
Mhm.
to produce. Yeah, that was a really big leap for me, and I think I don't know how it feels for you, but, like, when I have these moments, like, I feel it in my body that, like, either I feel like I'm about to shrink, but, like, I choose to, like, feel like I need to expand. Like, rather than, like, shrinking, it's this feeling of, like, "Okay, how do I expand into this opportunity?"
Ooh, that's good.
Or it's I now associate rather than something's wrong, it just means I'm about to grow.
See,
That's
and
what
I
I tell
love
myself.
that you associate that. That's amazing. I
I've
love
had
that
to switch
story.
that because it's like, I'm gonna feel it in my body anyway, it's just the story that I tell myself about it.
Yeah,
So either I feel small or it just means, "All right, well, giddy up, girlfriend." Like,
yeah. Do
you're
you
gonna
think
have
that
to grow.
that came with age, or do you feel like that's something that you have, like, just had in you to be able to have that kind of self-reflection?
I actually think that came from, um so when we first met in my right, in my 20s, I did I've always done lots of, like, personal development, and the initial businesses that I had kinda set up, I made maybe 40 or 50 grand,
Yeah.
but what I got a master class in was watching amazing leaders and people in personal development, and it was I forget who said it. It's probably somebody famous and I'll remember it afterwards. But it's like, work harder on yourself than you do on your business.
Ooh, okay.
And I took that to
Like
heart
that.
of like working on here of like, how do I get this right? Because if who I'm being and what I believe is in the right spot, then it makes me better equipped of like how I'm going to show up in the world. So it was like
Yeah.
making sure this was right in order to then go do other things. Because when I started consulting, people are like, great, you know grants, you know endowments. I'm like, hold on. I've done fundraising. I'm not an accountant. They're like, great, you need to go implement finance and you need to tell us the accounting. I bought accounting books and I literally learned how to T account and T account my way from Denver, DC to New York and home
Oh
every
my
week
gosh.
for years to figure it out. And when I knew I wasn't the smartest person in the room, I just got the controllers of two really big logos to talk to each other. And all I
Yeah.
did was facilitate the conversation. I was like, yes, that is the correct accounting.
Yeah. Which
And
probably
then
makes you look
behind the scenes, go run it by
perfect.
the CPAs.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's so great. Yeah,
So,
I think it's really easy to feel like imposter syndrome when you're going through those big
yeah.
shifts. But I don't think for me, I don't think the self-reflection, I don't think that maturity happened. That I don't think that that came naturally for me. It was easy to just kind of be young and naive. And then
Mm,
the more you get your wits about you, I think you get a little bit, or for at least for me, I got a little bit more imposter syndrome along the way of, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I don't deserve this. I mean, even back to that fee-based planning thing of I had been in the business for over a decade, like I
Yeah.
think I had done it. I mean, I was probably 14 years in, thousands of meetings, tons and tons of clients. I've seen every situation, good, bad, and ugly. And somehow I was telling myself, oh my gosh, you could never get a client, you could never get another
Yeah.
client again when you do have a reputation and clients and, a business and employees and now a husband and a baby, it's
Huh.
those things become a little bit more like, what am I risking if I
Yeah.
don't? But, I wish it came naturally for me to, like, question my thoughts, but I really have to, like, pull out of my surroundings and, like, really have, like, a session with myself about,
Hmm.
like, how I'm feeling about it and to, like, trust that it'll be fine, but
Yeah.
it is significantly more of a pep talk and, like, a very intentional, um self conversation, than it is like something that just comes naturally for me to be like, nope, just lean in. So,
Hmm.
man,
Well,
I
I
need
mean,
friends like you who are like, hey, because we have talked to it. Because I remember we went to breakfast
mhm.
and at Snooze in Westminster.
Yeah.
I remember, and I told you I was going to do this, and we talked about it, um, and I guess this is the value of having friends that understand taking leaps and support you during taking those leaps. But you were like all about it. You were like, absolutely, like
Yeah.
you're so valuable and you should totally charge people for this. And that was really helpful because, when you think about so many people told me, even in my industry, were like, you'll never get people to pay that much for planning,
Mm,
and you're like, but then you have other people who are like, yeah, I can't believe you don't charge people for that amount of time. And
yeah. Well, it's so easy to say it for other people because you're like, yes, you're amazing. You're worth it. I see it,
yeah,
right? I've hired coaches when I've been in that spot that I know I'm so in my head that I'm not going to work my way out of it by myself. But having that outside perspective, and you can do it for somebody else, I can be like, yeah, absolutely, Sarah. Like, get it. Of course you should do that. And then if you turn around and be like, Monique, you should, you know, do your own thing and start charging X, Y, Z, be like,
yeah,
and then,
yeah.
that's been my,
That's why you need it. This is like,
yeah,
I would say if, especially for women, I mean, men need it too. This isn't just singular to women, but I would say if somebody is trying to go it alone, I don't know how you can do it and have
yeah,
success without a tribe.
Yeah.
Or even like, I mean, I have a wonderful husband who I adore, and he is an
Yeah.
amazing partner, and he's gonna hype me regardless. Like I could make a great dinner and he's like, "Oh, Sarah, this is the best thing." He's
I
that
love
kind
that.
of a yes, he's a wonderful human and a wonderful husband. And I can do no wrong in his book. And
Yeah.
so, while he's a wonderful cheerleader, you kind of also need somebody outside of your like home sphere who
Yeah.
is going to be able to say, okay, well, yes, you can totally do this and you're amazing and you're great, but have you thought about this? Or like, how are you going to do this? Or how are you going to implement this? When are you going to implement? Like just kind of
Yeah.
challenge you on a little bit more of the um like how to do it and when to do it. And
Mhm.
so yes, I'm very grateful for you for having that relationship with you over the years. Cause I mean, through all of these different phases, we've had at least that, even if
Yeah.
everything has kind of been different in both of our lives, we're at least like, hey, I'm thinking of this, or you're like, hey, I'm thinking of this. And we're trying
Yeah.
to figure out a way that we can, make your problems my problem.
Yeah. There's a meme that I see go around, and whenever I see it, I send it, and it's like when one queen meets another queen and you're strategizing on your joint sleigh. Instead,
Love that.
like I love
Yeah.
that one. Um,
Yeah.
I had done oh 2 years ago now a kind of cohort based learning thing. So coming together for learning and helping getting more women on corporate boards and making sure. So oftentimes it's like questioning our credentials, right? And so making sure
Mm,
that like you can read the board statements or, the finance statements. What's the role of the audit committee and the finance committee and the nominating and the comp committee and, the do's and don'ts and how to be in boards and build your resume. But what was interesting is so I was the youngest person well, I mean, that's not interesting, but me and someone else were the youngest people in the group, but like people that like have the C in their title, CEO, CFO, COO, founders, like top income or like women that you're like, oh my God, I feel so fortunate to be in the room with you. And even them being like, I don't know, like, am I ready yet
yeah.
to be on the board? And how much it was the breathing of belief of like, you have done enough. Absolutely, you have. And like intentionally connecting the dots and not just hyping each other up, but like, no, you have valid experience. I think we often underwrite
Yeah.
the experience that we have. And so you have done enough. And yes, you can still grow, you can still get more experience. And it's about making yourself visible and raising your hand. And how do you get the chance to put yourself forward? And
Yeah.
so that was interesting. These people, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you've already been an executive. Like, why?
Yeah.
Of course you could be a board member. And so seeing their transformation in that process every month on the first Friday, we keep together. So it's the Sixters because one of the ladies, super, super talented person, had been in the military. She's like, having your six means having your back. So rather than
Okay.
sisters,
I get it.
Sixters. And we still meet every month. And I've needed them be like, well, I'm thinking about doing this, or what about a bigger role, or do I want to found something? Do I want to launch something on the side while I'm still in corporate? And one of them being like, you have done enough.
Yeah.
Like, you have enough experience. How big is your team? What
Yeah.
is the scope? What is the ARR you bring in? What's, all the sales that you've done? You are enough. You just need to figure out like what is your own value prop and
Yeah.
actually lean into that. And it's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. I
I
needed
needed
that.
to hear that.
I mean, you can't, I don't know. It's like, I don't anticipate that anybody who has reached any level of success has done it without that. I just don't know
Yeah.
how you could. And to be honest, so I'm listening to a book right now. Or not listening to a book. I'm reading a book. I'm not listening to it. But I'm reading the book Outlive. Have you heard of this?
Mm.
It's really interesting. But he's talking about like lifespan versus health span
Oh,
and
yeah.
like how we live a life, not just free of disease, but how we like continue thriving through
Mhm.
all of our age. One of the things he talks about is like success without emotional health. What is the point if you're unhappy and you don't have good relationships? What
Mm.
is the point?
Yeah.
It is so futile. It will literally kill you faster to
Yeah.
have success without like emotional relationships, without friendships, without supportive emotional mental health. Like that's
Yeah.
it's like why and how? Like I guess I could understand the how because you can kind of power through anything, but like
Yeah.
inevitably what people who do that I think don't talk about as much is the burnout they experience and the like loneliness that they experience.
Mhm.
And but man, if you could do it in a way that you can like build in your friendships and your supportive
Yeah.
relationships and your partner and whoever, it's just so much more meaningful, I think.
Yeah. I was chatting with someone and she's a licensed psychologist, that's kind of her background, and she was talking about how we need to recognize, at least where we live, right, in the States and the nature of the economy that we have, right, that the system that we are in is not designed for work, family,
Mm,
and friendship and being well at the same time. Like, just at its core, like, it's just not designed to optimize that, right? So not taking good or bad on capitalism, it's just not designed to optimize for your well-being. So just being really going in eyes wide open and being really real about that. And so then it's like, okay, if that's the game that we're in, then what are the different choices I need to make sure that I'm prioritizing family and friends and the being well piece of it.
yeah, which is so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I've been I'm coming off of pregnancy in um 2023, having a baby at the end of 2023, being on maternity leave in 2024, and then really finding transition now, like it back into like I feel like it's taken me almost a year since I've been like
Yeah.
back to work. I mean, actually this is about the time I came back to work last year fully, even though I wasn't really fully, working full time. Um but I had to like channel my old like time blocking days
Mhm.
of like here are the like 6 or 7 things that are really important in my life, whether that's like exercise. Well, I mean, right now, like my priorities right now is like exercise, healthy eating, well, basically cooking for my
Mhm.
family, work, family time, like my mental health and my friendship.
Yeah.
And so I literally have a different, I mean, it sounds so silly, but I literally like have my planner right here every day.
Yeah.
And I literally have colored blocks.
Yeah.
I actually spend time doing this where I pull out a credit card from my wallet and like block those things so that I know that even if I'm just sending a text to a friend
Mhm.
to check in on them. I have a friend who just had hip surgery and I know it sucks. She's had a hip surgery before. I
Yeah.
know how hard it was for her to rehab last time. She had to do it again. I know her spirits and her just physical body are not great. And so it is a reminder of
Yeah.
text her because she needs some support right
Mhm.
now. But without a prompt, I don't know that I would be a good friend reaching out to see how somebody's doing, or
Yeah.
that I would get the workout and I was exhausted this morning and get the workout in that I know I need to get done, or
Yeah.
block the time at 3:30 to prep dinner and get it ready so that all I have to do once my son is home and my husband is home is like get it in the
Yeah.
oven or, 15-minute thing versus, spending an hour and a half without, hanging out with my family.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the only way that and then I have these green blocks. I love my green block. It's green because it's money.
Oh, I
So
love it. Oh, I
goodness.
love that for
It's
you.
it
That's
has to be
amazing.
it has to be green, but it's phone off, like, no like, absolutely no distractions, do not come in my door. It is, even if it's only 4 hours, I feel now I can get done more. I feel
Yeah.
like I can get done the same amount in 4 hours that I used to get done in 8 because I'm, like, absolutely laser tip of the arrow
Yeah.
focused because I have to be, because the next block is going to come up and I've got to go season that chicken that I'm making for dinner tonight,
Yeah.
because it's important to me that I feed my family and I feed them good, healthy, nutritious meals, and that I'm not taking an excuse of I'm a busy working mom to just say, we're ordering
Yeah.
takeout, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, it is not designed to like help us support all of those aspects of our life. But I do believe that like planning, like any like life
Yeah.
planning, like those blocks help me so much. As silly as it looks when I'm sitting at my kitchen table holding a credit card and like blocking, because of course I'm not going to do it like, I'm way too type A to just like draw it. I have to have like a straight line. But like of course I'm sitting there on like a Sunday night blocking out all my time blocks for the
Yeah.
week so that I can get it all done because I want to do it all. Like that also includes massages and time for me
Mhm.
to read a completely like fiction book that I just
Yeah.
enjoy to read, or, other self-care things or girlfriend time. So, I don't know. I think it's discouraging to think that you can't do it all, but it does take a lot of to be able to do it all. It's so much planning to be able
Yeah.
to. You can, but you have to plan. You have to
Yeah.
know when you're doing all of those things.
Yeah. I love that. I love that, and I definitely use time blocking also, like, if it's not on my calendar, it's not gonna happen, and for me, at least in my role, I'm a manager, I'm a leader, so the nature of my calendar in a lot of ways is a lot of context switching, and, like, my job is just to unblock other people and make decisions,
Yeah,
but I'm also a maker because it's the strategy, it's the, up chain communication, it's the positioning, and not with every different level of seniority that I've grown to, the more deep think time I need is actually more important. And
totally.
so having to find the blocks of like the deep work and actually keeping that appointment for myself and then like, okay, here are all my context switching tactical things. But then we walk the kids to school and then this is when I do jujitsu and then,
Yeah.
right, nothing after that, and for me, I think I still struggle in, like, making space for friendships,
Mhm.
I'm good in deep conversations, and then kind of I pull out and then back to life, and then it's the, "Don't be offended if I don't respond with a voice note for 3 days," kinda thing, so I think I'm still trying to figure out that piece, but I had, for my priorities, the hardest thing, right, so for some people, it's, right, God, faith, whatever is the top thing, and then, my health and putting that first
Mhm.
because nothing else works if I'm not good. And I would
Yeah.
know that intellectually, but then I wouldn't actually, my calendar wouldn't reflect that.
Yeah.
And so I had to get more childcare support. We have somebody help with meal prepping. We send out the kids' laundry, as bougie as that sounds. I had to get over that, like figuring out what was not the highest value add that only I could uniquely do and
Yeah.
outsource that so I could make it right health, family, our
Yeah.
marriage, and then the
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
which for a long time, I think there was a rightful critique if it's like, "The kids, the kids, the kids,
Totally.
you, me," right?
Yeah.
And that needed to change and how we put us as
Absolutely.
the foundation of this family,
Yeah.
even higher than that. That's probably a whole other episode.
Well, I mean, but truly Scott and I say that we just actually had a date night last night. We got a
Mhm.
babysitter and we just went to dinner.
Yeah.
But we say to each other, like, especially in those like snippy moments, we all have with our spouse, but we always say to each other, the best parenting that we can do for our children is together.
Yeah.
And the best lesson that we can provide them is by showing them what a loving marriage actually looks like. And
Yeah.
so it's really important to us to pause because I know it's something that Scott appreciates and it's his love language that I have to pause through my day as busy as it is and even set a reminder. I know that that's not super romantic to like set a reminder, but like have to set a reminder to say, like, text my husband, see how his day is going,
Mm,
check in with him, say, I love you. I'd love, I love to do that. And I wish again that it was just like a natural part of my day to be like, oh, I'm just going to check in with him. But a lot of times it's so stacked that,
yeah.
it has to be a reminder. But the important part for me, and the same goes with friendships, is that like I have to like literally get out all my pens, and like pink is the color that I use for like girlfriend
Yeah.
time, and I have to use my goal. My rule with myself is I have to use all the colors
Yeah.
in that I lay out, because all of those things are important. And so whether starting a text with somebody or just saying I was thinking about you,
Yeah.
how often do I wake up and I wonder how that thing is going with Monique, but I don't say anything to you about it?
Yeah.
How often does that happen? But if I truly just took a moment to say, hey, I was just thinking about you. How did this go? It makes your friendship so much more, I don't know, it just makes you feel
Yeah.
special. Like it always feels special when somebody reaches out and says that to you. And so I really try to be, to use that pink, even though again, like it's a season where like friendships
Yeah.
aren't like a thing that can happen friendship time. But I go to book club and I make
Yeah.
sure that I'm getting together with girlfriends, or like we're going to brunch, or
Yeah.
something where even if it's once every 6 months, that like we're at least connecting and doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of kind of an intentionality, right? Whether it's for our fitness or our family or friends, um, the like intentionality around making time to talk about finances and think about
Mm,
your finances before we wrap today, I think would be, I'd love your thoughts on. So I know for Ben and I going back to, right, our 20 some, the dinks, right? We didn't make a lot of money, but before the kids came, every month we had a planning meeting.
yeah,
Every month we
I
went through our
remember.
goals, what we wanted to do. I mean, I still have the spreadsheets. We were religious about this and going through our finances and reconciliation because you can't have the same person confirming everything. So it's like, where did our money go? Where was it to our budgets before we had good tools, right? And setting those goals. And we did that for a really long time. Even after we got married, we didn't combine finances until we got married because we were like, we need to prove that we can both be responsible for our own money before one, we make any and before we put it together.
Right.
And then we reached a certain point in the past. I think it was during the pandemic. The pandemic was a time for us because we had a 6-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. We didn't have childcare in the beginning and we both worked full time. I got promoted during the pandemic. We both took on bigger jobs. Like that kind of routine like fell off. And, then it moved to like, all right, let's at least do a once a year check-in of like, where did we land for the year? Where should we tighten up? But even keeping meetings, like, so now putting on the hat of not as my friend, but as the financial advisor, like keeping meetings to talk about finances is something that kind of slipped. It was like, I'm busy. We have to reschedule. Like, we're super, super hard to
Yeah.
schedule. Can you? And that's something we're trying to come back to.
Yeah.
So, for everybody listening, as the financial advisor, do you have any advice for people about how to make time for those conversations, things people should be talking about, whether you're a U2 with no
Yeah.
money, right? You're a high income, or maybe it's a bit of both that you
Yeah,
recommend?
I mean, I first and foremost, like, I think everybody should have a conversation with their financial planner at least once a year. And that's an easy thing to plan, right? You just put it on the calendar at some point and, check that off. Now, granted, there's sometimes that you need to have a couple meetings because things change and all those things. But as far as like ongoing and staying in tune with your budget and being really intentional about bigger things like vacations or big purchases or paying off debt or whatever it might be. I'm a really big fan of the quarterly reset.
Mm.
And I don't know if this is a thing. Maybe I just coined a term, but
Yeah, say more about that.
yeah. So what I define as my quarterly reset is I'm kind of an organization freak. But to everybody who has organized their fridge at a certain point in time, it fails and you have to like redo it, right?
Yeah.
And what I noticed is how frustrated I would get. And so as soon as I was like, okay, I'm noticing a trend, that I start to get frustrated after a few months. And so I was like, okay, I am putting on my calendar, schedule time to reset
Mhm.
that. It's literally just like going in, rearranging, throwing stuff out, out with the
Mhm.
old, in with the new, just like resetting. It's just a
Yeah.
reset. So I also do that for budget. So I do
Okay.
that in my home. That's a big home thing for me, to keep stuff organized and to like, keep our, house looking nice, is to kind of purge or to reset things at home organizationally. But for budget, so we use YNAB, which I know you guys use or have used in the past. But what's really nice about YNAB is that like if you're tracking your budget and you don't have time to like reconcile every day or month or
Yeah.
whatever, but you can look back at 3 months, right?
Mhm.
So each quarter, and you can find areas where it was like, did we hit this goal? Did we overspend?
Yeah.
Did we reach the savings target? And not let a whole year go by, but you
Yeah.
can really course correct if you quarterly reset. And
Yeah.
so that's really my moment to go in and say, so I actually block days on my calendar
Mm.
quarterly. So like one day is going to be, like just kind of an inventory household wise, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
just resetting everything. Do I need to rearrange? Do I need to reorganize? Think about your pantry, your linen closet. Do I need to finally buy those containers to make sure that things stay in the place that I want them to stay? Right. It's
Mhm.
that kind of stuff that you never like have time for, but you do
Yeah.
if you like block, right? And even if you're not like a business owner, you have the ability to say, I'm taking like a half a day,
Yeah.
a quarter to block that time with PTO or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a nice reset home wise. But then I also block another half a day for stuff like our budget and goals, and just to kind of get a sense, because you lose sense day to day where you're at, especially when you've got a million things going on.
Mhm.
I think you lose sense of what direction you're going. But again, if it's like, okay, I said I was going to save $10,000 this quarter, then like I can set up the system. But if like, oops, we took a vacation and then like, oh,
Yeah.
like that thing happened or this thing came up or whatever, and then I see that we only saved six at the 3 month mark, like then I know that my quarterly reset is revamping that system of like, or being more intentional or setting boundaries around
Yeah.
how the next time that we're saving that 10,000. So I think it's just, again, for busy people, I don't think you need to do it every week, every month,
Yeah.
but I think a quarterly dedicated, like either full day or 2 half days is like really, really necessary. And we plan our date nights, we plan like,
Ah.
so there's just lots of stuff that happens in that quarterly reset that like goes on the calendar. If we have things that we just need to make sure that we're doing, that's the time that we're putting
Yeah.
it on there. So budget, finance included.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'll have to have you back. I know you probably have lots of meetings today
I
with
know.
clients,
I
but
hate it. I wish I
we'll
could just do this all day.
check in how the quarterly check-ins are going, and next time
Okay,
we'll chat about F1, but enjoy race weekend since it's a
go
race
Ferrari.
weekend. Go Ferrari. Okay. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate
Hey,
you.
all right.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode today. And remember, friends, there is no one right way to do this thing called life. I hope you found this conversation valuable. Please make sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you may listen. And it would mean the world to me if you went and you clicked on rate the show and left a 5-star rating to help other people find these conversations. Until then, friends, keep experimenting. Talk to you soon.